Hello everyone, it's Monday, March 19th. We're going to be casting today's A Game a Day series game, and it's WhiteRa versus EGIdrA, and Idra's wondering why WhiteRa's on NA. He's on Texas. Not sure why he's in Texas, but that's okay. So WhiteRa is going to be spawning over here on Metalopolis. He's going to be playing against EGIdrA, of course, and I guess that's where he's been making those gun videos, where he's been shooting a couple of weapons here or there. And he says that me and Stefano in the same place now. In the same place, I guess he means. And I've actually turned off the mouse scroll thing to hopefully make my videos a little bit more smooth, so no sort of like tap this way and all of a sudden we're like over there type thing. So we're gonna have to sort of hold down the middle mouse button and slowly scoot to the side so that it doesn't make people nauseous. And over here WhiteRa is going to be throwing down his pylon, and he's going to be going ahead and walling in with a forge, possibly putting a cannon over here and over here to be able to guard his natural expansion. We'll see if he's going to be bold this game and take a fast nexus. Over here, EGIdrA does see the probe, and he's going to go ahead and throw down the spawning pool. Very standard play coming out of EGIdrA right now. He does have an overlord scooting over the area up at the front of WhiteRa's base, so he does know that WhiteRa is going to be going for somewhat of a quick nexus. And EGIdrA just selecting that overlord, just checking things out, and it does look like WhiteRa is going to be throwing down that nexus first. The probe is currently on the way. It's going to show up at the front. And there's the nexus going down, so EGIdrA knows that it is a nexus first. And over here, WhiteRa does have his probe on patrol, and EGIdrA really wants to get down that hatch. He doesn't quite have enough money yet, so we'll probably see WhiteRa actually throw down a pylon. And it looks like the hatch will go down, and there it is coming up for EGIdrA. We'll see if he decides to use that as just a macro hatch and try to bust the front over here, which is unlikely knowing EGIdRA's playstyle. There's the forge and the gateway coming up. WhiteRa's nexus is about halfway complete, quite a ways ahead of his opponent's hatchery. There's the first queen on the way as well. This will allow EGIdrA to get a couple of extra larvae. We can even take a look at the larva count later on. WhiteRa taking a peek at the third base. He wants to make sure that he does have a little bit of a block over there. EGIdrA quickly sending two zerglings over there. He will be able to either take down this probe or at least force it away. Does WhiteRa notice? Looks like that probe, he did select it, but it was just a tad bit too late. EGIdrA not going for the gas. He's got a second queen on the way already, and we'll probably see him send a drone out to that third base real soon to be able to grab that. There's a single zergling going to be scooting to the bottom side, possibly looking for a couple of pylons just in case WhiteRa is dropping anything over there. There's the first cannon up for WhiteRa and the double gas inside of the main. We'll see what WhiteRa tries to do in order to slow down his Zerg opponent in terms of economy, perhaps trying to do some kind of gateway push, or more commonly do a little bit of that Stargate play. Third base is coming up for EGIdrA, so this is the perfect play against this type of Protoss expansion. It's actually, I almost think it's overpowered, but that's a discussion for a later date. There's the probes coming out, and Zerglings continuing to scoot about the map. EGIdrA has full map control right now. He will know exactly when WhiteRa decides to send out any sort of probes to build pylons, etc. EGIdrA has a little bit of an oversaturation inside of his main, but he will transfer that as soon as this new hatch is up and running. WhiteRa does have a Stargate on the way, and it looks like he will be hiding it over here. It's not really, I wouldn't really consider that hidden, but I'll call it hidden. There's the warp gate research getting researched as well, so we'll be seeing some void ray pressure, maybe followed up with a couple of Phoenix. Now the gas coming up for EGIdrA. He's only going 2 gas for the moment. A couple of Zerglings taking out a probe over there, as well as the Zerglings finally the drones reaching the third base. Creep thread has not yet started, but EGIdrA should start that soon. He does have another queen on the way. I guess that will be the queen for this third hatchery. And, there's a Zella at the watchtower, and EGIdrA with a very nice micro of those lings. A couple of them going down to 6 HP, but most of them surviving. +1 is on the way for WhiteRa, and the chrono boosted Void Rays are on the way. There is an Overlord checking things out over here for EGIdrA. First Stalker is about to pop out, and that Void Ray will quickly avoid that one Overlord and begin scooting towards EGIdRA's base, but EGIdRA does have a pretty good Overlord spread, so he will have advanced notice, or slightly more advanced notice of that Void Ray arriving. Looks like WhiteRa will begin cleaning up a couple of these Overlords, and EGIdRA throwing down a Roach Horn and an Evo Chamber, so he can throw down a couple of those Spore Crawlers, and oh no, a Queen getting caught. That Void Ray is fully charged up, so it will win against that Queen, but a second Queen is arriving to help that first Queen out. There's a Void Ray going to continue poking in here, perhaps trying to take out yet another Overlord. Looks like that Void Ray will sustain a little bit of hull damage, but it will take down that one Overlord. Second Void Ray pops in here, and looks like the two Void Rays are going to begin working on that one Queen. WhiteRa needs to make sure he micros those Void Rays well. There's Transfuse going down for EGIdRA, and one Queen will fall, and WhiteRa quickly pulls back the second Void Ray, and EGIdRA bringing up a third Queen. He's getting more and more Queens out on the field. There are Spore Crawlers now on the way, and WhiteRa's Void Ray pressure has been beaten back. Another Void Ray does pop out now. 3 Void Rays out on the field, but they're not going to be able to do too much damage, as EGIdRA now has the Creep Thread, as well as Spine and Spore Crawlers coming up at his bases. Creep beginning to join all of the bases as well. For EGIdRA, the 3 Void Rays is going to be parking at the watchtower. A couple of Lings are going to be running forward, and WhiteRa is throwing up sort of a wall over here. Couple of units warping in, a couple of Zerglings are going to scoot by towards that third base, just looking to see if WhiteRa has gotten that up, but it looks like a little bit of an engagement over here, and EGIdRA smartly targeting down the Sentry, a very expensive unit for WhiteRa to lose. The Void Rays are gonna poke towards that third base. And over here, WhiteRa now at 71 food. EGIdRA is leading him by 30 food, and he is now headed towards Robotech, so he does have the Robotics Bay on the way. He will be getting up a couple of those Colossi. It looks like there are plenty of Queens over here to hold off these 3 Void Rays. EGIdRA throwing down additional Creep Tumors. I think he will be looking to pressure that third base real soon. Couple of extra buildings coming up for WhiteRa, but he really doesn't have the ground forces available. One Zealot over here, a couple of probes, but here come the Roaches and the Lings towards that natural expansion. WhiteRa is getting surrounded over here. A couple of stray sentries. Force fields going down, but it looks like it's not quite enough to save this force over here. The Roaches are going to be advancing forward, and the Void Rays returning home to try to clean this up. A cannon does finish. The Nexus completes as well. So EGIdRA just needs to target down that Nexus, and if he gets that Nexus down, and this will be a huge hit on WhiteRa's economy. A bunch of Zealots now warping in, that Nexus will surely fall, and the Void Ray is just unable to clean this up. WhiteRa is now down to only 2 bases, and EGIdRA is taking a 4th base right now. There's an Immortal trapped inside, and the Zerglings continuing to try to do a little bit of damage here. WhiteRa throwing up the Nexus once again. The Pylon is going to be repowering these 2 gateways, and WhiteRa is going to probably try to look to pressure that 4th base, or at least clean up a couple of Lings that are hanging out about the field. EGIdRA is getting up Mutalisks right now, which is the perfect counter against those Void Rays, although the unit counter station doesn't really tell us about that. Void Ray is going to be poking towards that watchtower once again. The Mutas are out on the field, and this is going to give WhiteRa so much trouble. He's gone Robotech. He has a couple of Void Rays over here, and it looks like it's just not going to be enough. The Void Rays do engage, get charged up, but it's just not enough. A probe does fall. WhiteRa is going to be trying to warp in as many Stalkers as he possibly can for the moment. Phoenix is now on the way. WhiteRa transferring all the probes. Stalker trying to do as much damage as possible. Another warp in of Stalkers. WhiteRa actually doing a pretty good job so far. That one Phoenix taking a little bit of damage, but it looks like the Mutas are going to be retreating. And EGIdRA trying to pick off that one Phoenix over here. And more Mutas now on the way, as well as Zerglings. The 4th base is now getting saturated. Like to see EGIdrA throw a couple of guys in gas, which is the rate limiting factor for making Mutalisks. And there's still an Overlord hanging out over here. Surprised that WhiteRa hasn't cleaned that one up. Finally now getting a couple of probes over to that 3rd base to begin mining. And that's a huge Zergling force here for EGIdrA. I don't know if WhiteRa actually has what it takes to clean this up. It looks like he only has a couple of Zealots as well as that one Colossus. And that's going to be really hard to keep that alive, especially against this many Zerglings. WhiteRa trying to micro back a little bit. Force fields need to get thrown down. The sentries don't quite have enough, and WhiteRa not really paying attention over here. The Colossus is falling down. The Stalker's reinforcing over here, as well as a couple of Phoenix. Looks like the Immortals trying to beat back the Zerglings, and it looks like it's just barely not enough to clean this up, or barely enough to clean that up. Looks like the Mutas will get away, but I think EGIdrA probably could have stayed back and done a little bit more damage, especially with that number of Mutalisks, as well as 20 Zerglings and 11 more Roaches on the way. Transfuse going down on the Mutas, and a 5th base getting taken right now. This is going to become an unstoppable Zerg economy real soon. EGIdRA's remaxed, and WhiteRa's only at 80 food. Oh no. WhiteRa, the Protoss hero, the special tactics toss, just doesn't look like he has enough to hold this off. A couple of Phoenix are going to be running over here, but it's just looking like even the Muta count over here. And the Zerglings and Roaches now streaming into WhiteRa's natural expansion. A couple of Phoenixes trying to pick away at a couple of those Mutas. GG, well played out of WhiteRa. Very nicely played by EGIdrA here. Getting out the right techs at the right time, as well as holding off those Voideries very easily at the beginning of this game. So we'll see you guys tomorrow for additional games. I'll probably be putting up a bunch of collegiate Star League games real soon as well. I got a couple of really exciting games in there, and one of those really super crazy 2v2s. So I hope you guys tune in for that. I'll see you guys later.